I'm chair of the documentary department at the New York Film Academy, which puts me in a position to be, it's a very lucky position. It's sort of the hub of this new generation of docs that are coming along. One of the reasons that docs are on such an ascendancy is because they've learned to focus on story. And that's really what we've spent the past 10 years sort of helping and helping to get in place, is the idea of documentary as narrative, which obviously Petra mastered here. The new next evolution that's come, which has just been really exciting to see, is people actually addressing it as an art form. You know, really creating that which is a documentary and a story and a piece of art. And I feel that that's one of the things that's most interesting about this film, that bringing together of the archival footage, and then especially with coming in with these visuals that are as expressive and challenging of the form and sort of redefining of the form as they are, which again is part of why we wanted to focus on them today.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you all for coming. I'm so sorry about my English. It's kind of terrible, but I will do my best. And so, Elena was a very special experience for Brazil. It was the most seen documentary 2012 in Brazil. So it's a very special thing to Brazilians to be.
2013.
Oh, sorry, yeah, thank you. 2013. And so we are really glad to arrive to US theaters. And also, every time that I watch the film, it's a kind of new film for me, and I really can discover new things. And really can, it's really crafted scene by scene. It really comes from the heart. And we have, just to introduce Janice, she was nominated with Elena to Cinema Eye Awards. That's a big thing for the film. So Fernando Meirelles, that's one of the two executive producers with Tim Robbins for Elena. He told two things that I think are really nice about the film. One is that for him, Elena is a road move of the mind, and the other thing, that's a film that provokes 60 insights per minute. So, Janice, I would like to pose you two questions based on these two sentences. One of them, Elena is really personal. And so how was filming something so personal? Because you are really inside Petra's mind. You know, when he means road of the movie, it's like that. You are always in her head seeing what's going on. So how was, for you as a director of photography, filming this so personal thing that became so universal in the film, because it's so touching? And the second question that I would like to pose you is, when Fernando talks about this, the film provokes 16 insights per minute, he is talking about the way, the layers of reality, the simultaneity of times we have in the film, and the complexity of it. But at the same time, it's a film that really hooks you, and it's we have all these textures that are definitely one of the elements to create it is the photography. So I would like you to ask, how was the conception and technically solved this conception of the photography, and also how was the role of the color grade?
First, I think I have to tell a little bit the story of the film, how we started. We don't have much time, but we started shooting Elena in 2009, and I kept shooting with Petra for 2 years. It was shot in 3 years, and the third year I couldn't keep going because I have another projects, and unfortunately I have to, because we were shooting sparsely.
But what is interesting that really the film started with Janice and Petra shooting the image, even before having a screenplay or something really, really clear about what's going on.
At the beginning, Petra didn't have any money at all, no money. It was only very small personal resources. So we started shooting with a 5D. I don't know if any of you is familiar with this camera. It was 2009, so it was only beginning to be used as a a camera for shooting, for filming, actually filming, because it's a photo camera. Everybody knows this camera now, right? It's very popular. But it was the beginning of it. And we chose this camera because it was cheap. Petra could buy one. You don't have to rent one to keep shooting. But and then we start shooting many interviews. And Petra started to telling me about what she had in mind. And it always involved water and dancing since the very first beginning. Since our very first conversation, she has these images of dancing and water, dancers in the water. And one of the images we shot, I think maybe in the fifth day we were shooting, it's actually in the film. I don't know if you remember, it's a very contrasted image of a dancer going around in very dark water. It's among the images of the dancer flowing. And floating. And we shot that in a river. We went to the countryside to research with a dancer, friend of Petra, that was living in Paris at the time and was in Brazil for a few days. And then we were walking with her in the forest and we went to this river. The river that is in the film. And so Petra wanted to see how it would be for a dancer, a professional dancer, very talented. She couldn't be after with the rest of the dancers because she was so busy. And then this dancer went down the water. We went to a bridge where they shot the images later of the dancers escorrendo.
Floating.
Not floating. Yeah, there is another word that I don't know. It's like, it's not floating.
Drifting.
Drifting, yes, like drifting. And then she started dancing in the water. And I think that's when Petra could keep thinking of these images and could see that they were possible. And I think, yeah, and then she kept shooting women dancing, and we shot many women dancing, a lot of things in the water. Petra dancing herself in many places with water, seashore, rivers, everywhere in this beginning. And then we start thinking, how can we translate in images this feeling of... O que a gente falou hoje? Tinha uma palavra que era... I have to check my notes. Just a second. There is a word.
Borrando a realidade.
Smudging.
Sorry, like. We talked a lot today to come to this Q&A, so that is a problem. You should have come like no.
I couldn't find. But it's like we wanted to put on the film like this feeling of intangible, intangible, of a memory that she have to find of her sister again, because the memories were fading slowly with the time, especially because no one talked about Elena anymore. No one wants, the suicide is a taboo everywhere, you know that. And no one wanted to talk about Elena's anymore. And then all the memories were becoming more intangible and intangible. And we wanted to put this feeling in the screen. And we start thinking together how to do that. And then we decide, because the 5D look, it's digital and very sharp, and too sharp for us. So we decided to shoot with special lenses. Actually, we use a very cheap lens. There's called Lens Baby many times. It gives this look. In the middle of the screen is focused, and in the corners is blurred. So we wouldn't see the reality so raw, in such a raw way. You understand what I mean? It wouldn't be so raw. We want to have this layer of the memory that we're trying to catch all the time. And also we shot a lot of stuff in Super 8 and 16 millimeter, many times. We use a camera that belonged to Petra's grandmother to shoot the 16 millimeter images. And in the beginning, a Super 8 camera that also belonged to Petra's grandmother, but it broke. So we have to buy another one. We bought here, around here somewhere.
So, yeah.
And yes.
And how did you work with all these textures on the color grade? Like
At the end, we have, as the film was shot for 3 years, so at the end, some image that we shot with a 5D, they were in the same image family in editing that belonged to the Super 8 images. So we put some grain on post-production and color grading. And it was a big challenge to put everything together, the footage, the family footage, that Petra kept searching for all those years. She had to, all those VHS images from the 80s, they were really degraded. They have to be restored. They have to be restored. It took a long time for doing that. And then color grading, we have to put everything together and give to everything the same feeling, the same image feeling. And it was a long work. We spent like 4 weeks putting everything together, but I guess that everything looks comunidade, unity.
Conformed or in this, yeah, unified.
It's unified. At least it feels like this to me. Even I watched the film, I think, 120 times, and every time I see, I still feel like there is this feeling of everything belongs to the same group of images, even if they were shooting 16 mil, and for many other DPs, for Petra herself, I think all of us as a collective work, because it was pretty much a collective work in all senses. And so I think every one of us that participated in the movie, shooting, editing, everything, I think we could make everything look alike, in a sort.
So we only have time for one question. I'm so sorry. Any questions? Please. Yeah, please. Yeah, you.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how did this film begin? Did Petra, had she been an actress and she was in touch with filmmakers to start this, to do this film about her and her sister?
Yeah, so Petra was very young when she started shooting, and it was her second. She shot a short movie before about her grandparents. That is very pretty, very beautiful and touching. But it was her first big experience with movie making. But she was learning, and she had many friends. We met. We met through a friend that is an actor who was friends with her. She had many actors friends because of her sister, in a way. And she had a lot of movie directors that were also friends with her. But she started to learn shooting, actually doing a film. She didn't go to film school or anything. She started learning shooting. And it was really nice for me, because I was a camera assistant for many years, for 15 years, for features and commercials. And it was nice I was starting to work as director of photography. I was actually still working as camera assistant at the same time, working as director of photography for her. And we were learning together many things. It was nice. We're doing in Brazil, in São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Bahia. There's a state up north with many rivers and ocean places. And also here in New York. She shot some things in Los Angeles, around Los Angeles. I think the the aquarium is on the West Coast. Was shot on the West Coast for Californian-based DP. Those are very beautiful images. The aquarium, the boy, was shot in the Californian coast. And I have shot almost everything that was shot in New York, it was me. And another photographer later shot some after editing. After some point of the editing, they shot more things. That's it.
So thank you. Janice is going to be outside if you want to make some other questions to her.
Sorry
Keep
about my
talking.
English.